So, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we see.
Okay, so, well, first of all, thank you all to who came to this webinar. I am Nerijus Kucevičius, and I represent a Baltic management company. And I think without further ado, I would go further and let's not waste all our time about the agenda today. The topic is, I would say, not very simple. We will talk about BIM standards, about two main, let's say, BIM standards, which are in the BIM market for some time already. One of them is PAS 1192, it's a British standard, and the new one standard, which is ISO 9650. Well, a short introduction about who we are and what we do. So, as I mentioned, I am a CEO of Baltic management company. We are working in the whole Baltic states. We have already a big experience in the BIM field. Personally, me, I came from the construction industry. I was working inside, and for the last 10 years, I'm into BIM technologies. We have a team of 12 people, which, comparing to any of our competitors in the region, we are the biggest BIM management services offering company. We have a multiple, background of our BIM managers, but I always say the best BIM managers are who came from the construction side, because we understand the processes and know the issues and the problems on site. So the bigger part of our managers are specifically from the construction field. Very shortly, if we're talking about standards, what we are using, so these standards which I will talk today, we are using it internally in our daily workflows, and we have our internal standards based specifically on these workflows which are described in these global standards. So our service area is absolutely, we are covering the whole building cycle from idea, from the concept of the design, and finishing the finishing of the project and handovering it to the maintenance phase. So in all the phases, there are things to do with the BIM technologies, and we have already experienced and executed projects in all areas. So BIM standards, how does it work? And from the last webinars, which were already prepared and made, I understood that there are some people don't understand, let's say, some acronyms. That's why I thought that we should start with a short list of acronyms to understand, because they will be, showed in a set standards itself. So very shortly to understand what is what. So BIM, we'll all know what is BIM, but maybe not all knows that in BIM, the main word is information. Mostly people are still thinking that BIM is model, but actually it's information which we are modeling, and the visual representation of the building is just a small part of data which is creatable by using BIM technology. So Common Data Environment, CDE, is also important acronym, which describes, in a simple way to say, it's a place where we're keeping all our data and exchanging it from one source. Then we have AIR. AIR, we'll talk about it more a bit later in a standard and describing what it consists of. But the main thing and what I wanted to say, it was always called Employer's Information Requirement. According to the new standard, to the ISO standard, the main change was made that it's exchange information requirement. So it's needed just to keep in mind if you want to understand the standard. That was made a change comparing between PAS and ISO. Then we have some BIM, AIM. It's a project information model, asset information model, but also what I didn't mention here, there is like IR and AIR. So it's relating to the AIR, which talks about also requirements for the project model and for asset model. Then we have another document, DEP and DEP. I hope you already heard about it. So also in a simple way to say, it's a document which describes how everything is going to be made, what kind of workflows will be prepared, and the responsibilities, etc., etc. So as I said, the main document for execution of requirements. In this list, last but not least, is also master information delivery plan. So it's also important to understand at the end what kind of documents, document packages has to be prepared and handed over to the customer. And simple way to say, it's a one big spreadsheet where we have a list of all information, data, documents, etc., etc., is handed over for at the end of the project. What else we have? We have level of geometry, level of information, which combining two into one. We have level of development or level of detailed. No matter how we call it, we need to understand that we need to agree how much we have to prepare BIM, because just to say I want BIM, it doesn't answer any question. So this is also important for all stakeholders, not only for the customer, but also for the design teams, how much they have to go into details and so on and so on. Then I hope you also know the IFC. This is one of the standards, open standards. As a IFC standard, it's already, actually, it's not new. If I remember correctly, IFC standard was created in the early 70s, but only now, these days, we are starting to be able to use this idea, which was created like 50 years ago already. Then another standard is BCF standard. It's a BIM collaboration formal, which is comparing to IFC is, I would say, a new one. It counts, I think, like 8 to 10 years. But again, this is very crucial format for collaboration between different stakeholders. All these standards are standardized by the company Building Smart, a global association, which creates and talks about these standards, how they should, work, etc., etc. About these standards, Alexander will make a more, let's say, detailed presentation, and he will talk a bit more about this on the second half of this webinar. So then we have PAS. Just to note, understand what is PAS. It's a public available specification, and also simply to understand it, it's like a standard or a code which uses mostly it's a British standard, so it's uses in a British Britain, but it was like created also like in 2016 or something, and it became a global standard for multiple countries around the world. We also used it and using it until today because the principles are correct, and how the project has to be executed in a BIM environment, it describes in the correct manner. But after the Brexit, then the Britain, let's say, one area with Europe, there was ISO standard, which was started to develop. And a lot of things actually came from this path to the ISO. And it reflects more or less the same ideas. So today, my idea is for you to show the workflows of both of these standards and maybe to compare a bit or to see what is the difference. So without further ado, let's jump into the PAS standard. I called it all, but I said it's actually still usable, and a lot of countries who are using it till now. So this is the scheme took directly from this document, and I just wanted to show that principles and the workflow. So the idea is why we're doing this project, why we're doing, how much we're doing of it. And as you can see here, I hope you can see that the idea starts from the air. So from this document, which in the acronyms I mentioned, it was employees information requirements. Now it's called exchange information requirements, but the initial idea is that the client, the customer, has to be specific and to understand why he's asking for the BIM. Well, then we have the procurement phase. On the basis of this document, it should be executed the procurement. And the first step, which is according to the standard, is made. It should be prepared BIM execution plan. What consists in a one or another document, we will also look at it later. But in generally speaking, the requirements and procurement, and then the preparation, or let's say this contractor who wants to tender, he has to show his capabilities to be able to execute the client's requirements. So then after contract awards, we have also prepared some IDP. This is what I also showed you, the document, how much and what kind of documents will be prepared and handed over to the client at the end of the project. Then we have a mobilization phase. So it's more or less testing and checking the technical capabilities, the knowledge of the team, and so on, to be able to execute this project. If you can see here, it reflects the whole life cycle of the building from idea. These phases can be different in different countries, but the principal ideas is the same. So we have an idea, a concept, and we have a design phase, detailed design, till the handover. So this is from 1 to 6. This is a phase of execution, and here we have the handing over to the client, which we moves it to the operational phase, right? And here it reflects that information is growing from the start to the beginning. The information level is growing constantly in every phase, and it has to be tracked, stored, and so on and so on. So again, coming back to acronyms, the first part from 1 to 6, this is a project information model. And after handover, it becomes an asset information model. So it means this is execution of the construction and collecting of all the documents and the data. And this is the exploitation phase, in a simple way to say. So yeah, this is actually what I meant. We are proceeding from one to another phase until we are coming to the handover, then we're going to maintenance phase. Actually, there is another standard for the maintenance phase, describes how it works. It's actually the same PAS 1192 part 3. And then we are closing the life cycle, of the building, and we're going to reconstruction, demolishing, etc., etc. So this is a normal, living life cycle of any building. What is also important, at every phase, it has to be, we have to have milestones, we have to track the progress, we have constantly exchange information between different stakeholders. I mean, the design team, the contractor, and always we need to keep a track with the customer. So this is very important, and in a normal way, or the old way of executing projects, we are sometimes forgetting that. So here, as you can see, it's a common data environment. This whole area, this whole green-white area, this is a collecting and placing all this data in one place, how you like to call it, one source of truth. Yeah, and yeah, this is what I said: constant exchange, constant control, and managing of all the deliverables. In a simpler way, maybe to say, it could be looked like this. First iteration, we're saying what information do I need, and in what formats and for what purposes. Then, the second one in the BIM execution plan preparing phase, we can say we are answering, first of all, for ourselves. Can we supply and deliver it? How can we do it? Then we have who delivers, what and when. Start of the project, as I mentioned, design, construction and operation, information groove, and information exchange, clients' decisions, critical milestones, and so on till we close the life cycle of the building. Yeah, so I hope it makes sense. In a simple way to say, this is the workflow of PAS 11992. So moving slowly to the ISO 19650, it's I called it a new standard, but again, as I mentioned, there are multiple standards which we are not talking today. We're focusing only on 2 of these to compare them and to understand the differences. So the idea of it says organization and digitalization of information of building and civil engineering reports, including building information model, information management using building information model. So it consists from 5 parts. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the first one part is concepts and principles. So today we also will focus mostly on this one. On this first part, because it's also talking about how it should be managed, how it should be executed, and what kind of results should be, delivered. Then the part 2 and 3 focusing on actually on the data management and what kind of data should be, how and in what way, in what formats, and so on, it should be delivered in let's say execution phase and then in operational phase. Part 4 is the latest one. It talks mostly about requirements for this CDE. CDE, again, to remind you, is the common data environment or the server or place where we're keeping and exchanging the information. And last but not least, the part 5 talks about the security questions, which is becoming more and more important, and it's needed to solve a lot of things because we're putting a lot of sensible data, and it needs to have some security levels. So the security question, as I said, is becoming more and more important. But the other things what I wanted to mention or clear it out, what is actually important in this ISO standard naming, so it says organization and the digitalization of information. And another point is including building information model. When we talk to the clients who don't have a lot of experience, let's say understanding in BIM technologies, they all understand it that it's BIM. Actually this naming says that including BIM. So BIM is just a small part of the whole process. The BIM is a mostly visual representation of a building or any asset which has to be executed. But there are a lot of documents which are as I said, created in an execution phase. So I wanted to clear it out that it's not about the models. It's about digitalizing the whole process and to helping out, keep a track on it and manage it, that data with the help of technologies. So this is an important thing. Okay, so how the workflow looks in the ISO. So this is a simplified view of this standard. So what kind of, let's say, changes or add-ons are made comparing to the past standard? So first thing is the changes between the parties, the naming of them, and important to understand. Instead of a customer, we have an appointing party. Instead of a contractor, we have lead appointed party, and then we have appointed party. So, to compare, to understanding, as I said, first is a client, second is a contractor, or it could be general contractor for easier understanding, and appointed party is a subcontractor. This is, just to simplify and to understand what is what. Okay, so if you remember in the past, all things started from the air document, and now if to go more deeply into it, actually now according to the new standard, it consists from 3 documents. It's organizational information requirements, project information requirements, and asset information requirements. By combining all these 3 documents, we're actually getting this air document. What is the difference and what kind of questions is described in every document? We just, we don't have time, and it's not possible to describe in 1 hour or 2 hours even. But again, to simplify, organizational information requirements, strategic, let's say, uses of the technologies in all departments or in all levels of the company. Project or peer information requirements talks about specific project needs, because there are multiple ways of using technologies in multiple areas, and it also needed to be described. And asset information requires it's data which is needed for exploitation of built buildings. So as I mentioned, combining these 3 documents, we are getting AIR, which is a basics for any project starting to think about its execution. So, okay, what kind of questions is solved or talked in this document? We don't have enough time to look into all. I just put it as an example of a list of the topics which has to be described. Again, you need to understand that even without this OIR, peer, and AIR, it's possible to prepare this document separately. But we are talking about, as I said, about global strategic decisions in the companies to use BIM technologies. So this, summary of this document, again, it can be changed, and some topics it's not needed, and so on and so on. But as I said, this is an example to have understanding how much topics and what kind of topics could be in this document. So as an example, I said, for example, okay, project scope, and I mentioned it's not about the BIM, it's about the digitalization of the data. If you look at this example, you wouldn't even see any BIM requirements here. It talks about the data, about digitalizing it, how we're going to use it, in which other applications or other phases, how we're going to create cost estimations, and so on and so on. So sure, there is BIM uses also. It's a very important and big topic, because areas where to use is wide, and with every year the possibilities are getting bigger and bigger. So it's also very important, because on every risk requirement, it will be calculated how much it will cost for the design team, how much it will cost for the construction team. If a decision is to use, for example, for 4D and 5D planning and estimation of the project, the contractor or this construction company, they have to understand this. They need to be prepared. We need to have technology. We need to have resources for that, and so on and so on. So it's also, it reflects directly on the costs and on the project itself. Again, what else do we have? For example, delivery team capabilities. Do we have resources for that? It means requirements reflects, again, directly to the costs, directly to the resources which is needed. And the main question, do we have any kind of these resources? Do we have these resources in the market, and so on and so on. What else? What else do we have? For example, again, CDE requirements. CDE requirements, it's important thing to understand because again, it's a separate technologies. There are like, okay, several or multiple different CDEs which are, let's say, more focused on BIM technologies and get bigger capabilities for for communication, for task management, and so on. And generally speaking, it's becoming not only like a place where we're keeping or storing our data, but it's also becoming like a project management tool. Again, it's needed to understand what is possible to do with it, and so on and so on. But again, it has to be written from the very beginning, why we're using and what we would like to do in this CDE. For example, if I would like just to keep my data, so the technologies could be one. If I say in this CDE, I want to be able to open the models, I want to be able to open point clouds, I want to be able to create tasks to keep track of them, and so on and so on. So these kind of requirements are stated in the very beginning because it has to be calculated in a proposition of a tender. So if moving forward, as you can see, this is the responsibility of appointing party, yeah, of the customer, of the client who is planning to build something. So after that, we are coming to, okay, what's happening? So the lead appointed party are receiving the requirements, on the basis on that, they have to prepare a package of documents shown below. So we have, as I mentioned, BIM execution plan. We have two of them, if you can see. There is a pre-appointed BEP and post-appointed BEP. So again, to simplify it, the pre-appointed BEP is an initial document prepared in a preparation phase, which talks about the principles of understanding clients' requirements, and that this contractor, he is able to execute the requirements. So in this document is the same topics must be answered, which coming from a customer in a document. So he has just to show his knowledge and understanding, and that he is able to deliver it. So in the pre-appointment, it talks about, as I said, principles. The BEP post-appointment, so it means that after winning the tender, the contractor has to specify this. For example, if we're talking about, let's say, some BIM processes like BIM coordination, etc., in a pre-appointment, that we said, yes, we will have BIM manager, BIM coordinator, BIM specialist, etc. In a post-appointment, that we're already talking about specific people, name and share name, what is doing, and so on. So it's specified for the specific project. What else needed to be prepared? Okay, so one of the topics what I wanted to just to show again, here we're talking about geometry and reliability definition. So again, to coming back, we're talking about detailness of the model, okay? Again, that's a crucial thing and the basis for execution. We're talking about level of geometry, how much and how detailed has to be modeled. We're talking about level information, how much information it has, put it in a model, and why it's needed to be put it in what format, and how it's going to be used in other phases. It has to be very clear, described and showed that everyone who is using it can understand this. Yeah? So this is just a simple example of, let's say, we have some architectural part, we need some slabs or interior windows. What kind of parameters has to be in a model, in which phase, in which detailness, and so on. So this is a hard topic. Again, if not to use some specific tools for that, it's really, really tough question to explain to other parties what should be achieved. About this, again, Alexander in his part, he will show some documents, how, to navigate in this area and to understand what could be asked. So another thing, risks again has to be managed and maintained. It's again, everything is related to the requirements, team, what we have, what experience we have, and so on. So, for example, we have to also to foresee our risks. Too many clashes, yeah, that's easy to understand, but it could be also too many BIM, not enough BIM. This kind of risks are also put it in this process if we are not, describing and clarifying all those requirements for all the stakeholders. Okay, what else? Mobilization plan. Again, what I mentioned, talking about the past, it actually also talks about this, possibilities, technological possibilities, resources. Maybe we need some trainings, maybe we need some additional softwares and so on. So it's needed to be reviewed, the internal infrastructure of the softwares. Maybe it's needed to get some, subcontractors to cover some areas and so on and so on. So again, one of the topics can be, skills and trainings for the team. How the team is prepared, what experience do they have, and to collect the whole team according to the requirements, and they be able to understand and to execute. From my experience, I can tell I had one project some time ago with one company in a team. It wasn't, let's say, it had some softwares. For softwares, there is also some specific requirements, and the question was or you are leaving the team, or you investing and buying some new softwares to be able to execute the project. So yeah, this is, as I said, important topic to understand. First thing, to understand the requirements, and second thing, to understand that you can execute them. Okay, responsibility. Responsibilities is, again, it's a crucial topic. There are multiple stakeholders involved in a construction project. There are a lot of people who is doing what, but as I mentioned, the standard talks not about only BIM or modeling or design phase. It talks about all the digitalization of all documents. So it means that any person who is doing something on one or another project is involved in these processes, and in tools which you are using, they need to understand what they're doing, why they're doing, how they're doing, and so on. So this must be listed: who is doing what, when they're doing it, and how they're doing. So yeah, this is again very important. And MIDP already mentioned a couple of times. It was also in a PAS standard. So again, I just wanted to show you a simple example, how it would look. It's, as I said, it's a big spreadsheet listed by all the stakeholders who will deliver what. If there is a design team, it should be listed all, the architectural part, structural part, models, drawings, some explanation letters, etc., everything which is important for the project, for execution. It has to be listed. It has to be, dated when the deliveries will be delivered, and who is responsible to, approve it, and so on and so on. So yeah, this is the second part of this workflow, which again, as I said, describes a big part of the documents prepared by one and another party. So to simplify again, at the top we have phases, at the bottom we have actions. So this is the deadline. This is let's say deadline for only a contract signing. So at this point we are signing the contract, and we have all the answers to the requirements, and we can say yes, we are ready. We know it's needed to be done. So the preparation works. The preparation works taking more time than we are used to. I know that in a construction market, it's always we're lacking of time. And, even last week, I heard from the construction company say, we signed the contract and the next day we're on site. We're already starting to, dig foundations. And I said, why are you doing that if you don't know what you're planning to build? It's, it's already like programmed the problems and issues, additional costs in that workflow. This is what it says. Yes, you have to spend more time on preparation. You have to, yes, prepare a lot of documents, but this helps you to understand what you're achieving, who is doing what, and you be able to be more better planning, more sufficient in your execution. So yeah, this is the first half of this standard workflow, and then we're of course going to execution, generally speaking. So this is the project execution phase. It consists, again, we have this mobilization phase from the beginning. Maybe some newcomers are coming, and they have also to be get familiar with the requirements, what they're doing, what their responsibilities, and so on and so on. As you can see, mobilization is prepared by the lead appointed party and all the parties who are involved. As I said, let's call them subcontractors. They all have their own responsibility matrix. They all have the delivery plans, and so on and so on. So this process, which goes through execution of a project, is always followed with a verification and validation, or again, to simplify it, all the things which is done need to be checked and controlled, not leaving like it's possible to understand or to imagine that in this shows it at the beginning, at the end of the project. No, the verification and quality assurance processes must be assured during all the process execution, from the design start to the end of the project until the handover. So this is very, very important, and a lot of who is like, again, from experience, I can tell we have some projects where by trying to, save some costs, our clients are saying, okay, so let's now pause some qualification or quality assurance process, and we'll come back like 2 or 3 months to the end. And experience shows that those projects are not achieving their goals because it's just not enough time, because there are always some issues and mistakes and clashes and so on, which needed to be, adjusted. Yeah, it's always not enough time. So that's why the quality assurance and quality control process must be at all phases during the project execution. So what's next? Of course, it's a closeout. In a closeout, we are learning our lessons. What is good, what is bad. Those lessons must be, reflected back to the requirements, back to the execution, and so on. It's nothing, wrong with that. There are mistakes and some things doesn't work, but this is normal. So those, again, mistakes has to be tracked, has to be listed. Again, it reflects to the risk management or risk maintenance, and it can be adjusted, and those lessons learned can be put for our future projects. And yeah, this is a handover. From here, we are giving this project to the exploitation phase. So very shortly, to understand. So what are the takeaways, from here? So what is important to, as I said, during 1 hour or 45 minutes, it's not possible to explain it and to go into details, but my goal for today for you is just, to have some thoughts and ideas, what is important about these standards. So again, it's not a BIM. BIM is just a part. So when we're talking about BIM workflows in a project, we're talking about project digitalization and handling of this data. What else? Appointing and appointed parties. Just for you to remember, if you see the appointing or appointed parties, so it is client and the contractor. So this is just to keep in mind and to have understanding. Very important, project requirements. There cannot be a project without requirements if, the client doesn't want what he wants to achieve, so there will be no good result. So this is the basic for any project related to BIM technologies, that it has to have requirements. Bigger, smaller, 1 page or 25 page, it doesn't matter, but the client needs to understand for what he's paying money. So preparation, as I said, I know it's tough, but we need to try and to go into that preparation is the key to success. We need to spend time on preparing and to be sure that we can achieve the goals, then, start digging. Again, checking, monitoring, validation of the data, it's a constant process. During all the execution phase, it has to be, someone has to keep a track on the level which is achieved. Are we on time, on schedule? Are we reaching our milestones, and so on and so on? Don't leave it for the end of the project, because it will not be a success. Yeah, so again, it's the same. What I already mentioned, quality assurance and quality control must be, executed for all the time. So another important thing, communication. Communication is crucial for achieving goals. If you have a bad communication, so you cannot expect a good result. It's not only about the project. It's valid for any day life situation. If you have bad communication with your wife, so you have problem. So it's the same here. Good communication has to be like a guarantee for the project. Without communication, again, everything is just not working. And learn from your mistakes. Important to say to yourself, yes, I made a mistake. I need to review the solutions. Maybe I need some new tools. Maybe I need some new skills. Maybe I need some new people to be better in our projects. So yeah, learn from your mistakes and don't be afraid of them. So thank you at this point. Yeah, I will give a word to Alexander. I think if you will have questions, we will be able to talk after Alexander's presentation. For now, I think that's it. And yeah, слава Україні.
Героям слава. Дякуємо, Нерію, за виступ. Переходимо до другої частини вебінару. Це документи, які допоможуть вам у впровадженні BIM у ваших проєктах. Починаємо. Одна з непересічних задач, яку доводиться вирішувати, це як суху мову нормативів перетворити на практичні інструкції, які ляжуть в основу виконання проєкту. Студенти для цього користуються козами, професіонали користуються посібниками, рекомендаціями та керівництвами. Стосовно посібників з інформаційного моделювання, на жаль, поки що в Україні це лише спроби ентузіастів зібрати та структурувати світовий досвід з цих питань, якихось чітко визначених рекомендацій поки що не існує. Перелік закордонних керівництв досить широкий. Кожна країна, яка обрала розвиток інформації, розвиток інформаційного моделювання своїм пріоритетом, намагається розробити власні положення та усталену практику. Ми не будемо сильно заглиблюватись в перелік цих документів, зупинимось лише на тих, які допоможуть почати практично використовувати інформаційне моделювання у ваших проєктах. Неріус вже згадував про level of development, рівень розробки, деякі називають це рівень деталювання. Тож, що це таке і як в цьому розібратись? З цим нам допоможуть колеги з BIM форуму, які розробили специфікацію LOD і постійно її вдосконалюють. Специфікація LOD визначає та ілюструє характеристики елементів моделі різних будівельних систем на різних стадіях проєкту. Мета цієї специфікації полягає в тому, щоб пояснити структуру рівня розробки, стандартизувати її та використовувати, щоб вона виконувала роль як засіб спілкування між учасниками проєкту. На слайді ви можете бачити, як показуються різні LOD для різних конструктивних елементів, сталеві конструкції, залізобетонний елемент, елемент огородження. Тобто, в принципі, ви можете цей документ скачати за цим посиланням та користуватись при визначенні вимог до інформаційної моделі. Переходимо до Building Smart International. Building Smart International – це організація, яка є основним рушієм ідеї відкритого BIM. Тобто BIM, побудованого на використанні відкритих форматів обміну інформацією та повній незалежності у виборі інструментів для виконання проєкту. На сайті організації ви зможете подивитись інформацію стосовно філософії відкритого BIM, пояснення щодо відкритих стандартів, які використовуються для обміну інформацією, AFC, BCF, а також важливо, це ви зможете завжди перевірити інформацію про ваше програмне забезпечення, чи сертифіковано воно для використання відкритих форматів обміну інформацією. Перейдемо тепер саме до керівництва посібників. Як я вже зазначав вище, кожна країна намагається розробити власний посібник з використання BIM. Ви можете бачити BIM Essential Guide, це розроблено в Гонконзі, Stadbig BIM Manual – це норвезький посібник, BIPS – данський, і COBIM – це фінський документ з використання BIM. На ньому ми зупинимось трошки більше. Common BIM Requirement базується на вимогах BIM, які опубліковані Senat Properties у 2007 році. Senat Properties – це компанія, державне підприємство фінське, яке відповідає за управління та здачу в оренду майна фінської держави. Проєкт фінансувався Senat Properties, а також іншими власниками нерухомості, забудовниками, будівельними компаніями, постачальниками програмного забезпечення. Також Building Smart Finland також брала участь у фінансуванні проєкту. Метою створення документу було створити не рекомендації, а саме національні вимоги для впровадження BIM. Охопити всіх учасників ланцюжка створення вартості та весь життєвий цикл проєкту. Положення цього документу можуть використовуватись як додатки до договорів. Вимоги стосувалися тільки якості моделі. В даному документі не розглянуті питання щодо власності та права інтелектуальної власності на модель, а також фінансові витрати та комісії за створення BIM. Ці питання були відкладені через побоювання, що розгляд таких складних питань може затримати вихід проєкту або ще гірше завести його в глухий кут. Документ побудований на таких документах, на документах, розроблених компаніями Статсбух, Американський інститут архітектури та General Service Administration американська. Статсбух та General Service Administration – це компанії, які також оперують державним майном, відповідно, в Норвегії та в Сполучених Штатах Америки. Тобто ми бачимо, що саме перехід у сприйнятті BIM від просто 3D-моделювання для проєктувальників до технології, яка поєднує всіх учасників галузі і стає рушієм розвитку BIM-технологій. Саме основні гравці ринку, такі як держава, забудовники, девелопери, активно сприяють розвитку BIM, коли розуміють важливість та необхідність цієї технології для будівельної галузі. BIM складається з 14 частин, це загальні частини, загальні вимоги, забезпечення якості та частини, які присвячені окремим розділам проєкту. Це моделювання стартової ситуації, це вихідні дані для проєктування, архітектурне проєктування, проєктування інженерних систем, будівельних конструкцій та забезпечення використання моделей у технічному нагляді, у будівництві та обслуговуванні. Тобто цей документ висвітлює всі аспекти для всіх розділів, для всіх зацікавлених осіб в проєкті, які стосуються саме використання BIM-технологій в будівельному проєкті. Ви могли, як ви вже почули, це документ 2012 року, і, можливо, він, можна сказати, дещо вже не дуже новий, але все-таки це дуже корисний документ з практичної точки реалізації BIM-проєктів. Разом з, якщо в цьому документі, разом з вимогами та правилами, які необхідні при розробці BIM-проєкту, також вказані ще й практичні рекомендації, які роз'яснюють положення цих правил та вимог. Наприклад, ви можете бачити, що роз'яснено, якими елементами краще моделювати які будівельні елементи, як правильно вибрати рівні розбивки будівлі, як правильно розбити будівлю на рівні, також як визначити координати та одиниці вимірювання. Зазначені навіть такі питання, як точність лазерного сканування, також зі своїми практичними рекомендаціями, моделювання архітектурних просторів, вимоги до BIM для різних частин проєкту. І взагалі це дуже хороший практичний посібник для того, щоб почати використовувати BIM у власних проєктах. Також в ньому наведені таблиці, форми заповнення, необхідні перевірки та приклади використання BIM у проєктах. І на завершення свого виступу хочу сказати, що ми переклали цей документ на українську мову. Розмістимо цей переклад на нашому сайті, і кожен, хто хоче працювати в BIM, може ознайомитись з цим документом та використовувати його у своїй роботі. Посилання на завантаження ми розійшлемо разом з посиланням на запис цього вебінару. Дякую за увагу. Будемо завершувати наш вебінар. Приходьте до нас на наступні вебінари.
Thank you.